We now continue with part 2 of the greenbusinessowner.com workshop, level 1, planting your seed. Excerpt from the beginning with Mr. Jeffrey Hollender, former CEO of 7th Generation. We will continue with his interview and then we will proceed on into the rest of the workshop. Part 2 of the greenbusinessowner.com free web class, Introduction to Green Entrepreneurship with Mr. Jeffrey Hollender, will now continue. This class is part of our ongoing workshop series to help people start green businesses. Our level 1 workshop covers starting with your mission, moving on to how to put the you in sustainability by keeping you healthy and you happy and you focused on your mission and on your dream. We then move on to aligning your mission with your target market's mission and how to communicate that mission to your target market in a way that engenders a lot of customer loyalty. We then, in week 2, go on to strategic planning. In week 3, we talk about human resource needs when you're starting up and how you can fill out your human resource needs without a great budget. In week 4, we go on to operations and how to do your project planning. In week 5, we help you through market research and identifying who your target market is, what they like to do, what their needs are, and how you can communicate with them. And then in week 6, we bring it all together and focus on how you can set up your marketing communications to directly tie into this target market that you're after. Without further ado, we continue with Mr. Jeffrey Hollender.
Now, I'd like to be able to tell you that it makes it significantly easier to attract capital, but I must say that attracting capital I think still remains challenging for most companies. And I think the last thing I'll mention is things that are true probably for any business. I mean, to be successful in business, and I have had no shortage of mistakes. Virtually every business I started was close to going out of business at one point or another. I had 2 businesses where at one point I let almost all of my employees go because business was so tough. But what keeps me going, and I think what will keep your business going, is doing what you're passionate about. That is a real advantage. If you're really passionate about what you're doing, it will give you the energy and the stamina to push through the most difficult times. And typically that passion is connected to making a change in the world that you want to see. And I think that today business is the most powerful force on the planet, and we need business to step up and be a source of solutions rather than a source of problems. So there probably, in spite of the difficult economy, was never a better time to start a sustainable business than today. And I think that you guys should all be excited about what you can learn in this course, in today's session, and future sessions.
Terrific. Thank you, Jeffrey. There's a couple of things I definitely want to follow up on with you about this and kind of ask you a little bit more detail about some of the stuff you mentioned. Also want to encourage folks, if you have a question for Mr. Hollender, go open another window and go to facebook.com/greenbusinessowner, and you can post your question directly there on our wall, and we'll try and get those processed and sent over to Mr. Hollender to maybe take a couple extra questions. One of the things you mentioned that I absolutely love is doing what you're passionate about. Later on in this slideshow, we have 7 factors that are critical to business success. Passion is one of them, and there are 6 others that we lay out that we think, from all of the interviews I've conducted with green business owners over the years, all the books that we've read, all the magazines that we've read, that all point to boiled down, these 7 factors will really help you with business success. So I think you're dead on with that one. So you mentioned also how it's a little bit more difficult, or not a little bit more difficult, but it's not any easier to raise capital as a social entrepreneur than it is as a traditional, conventional business owner. There are a handful of websites, prosper.com, type websites where people can go to try and raise small amounts of capital to start a business. And I've heard the argument that people might be more willing to do peer-to-peer lending to a green, mission-driven company than they are to, say, a conventional air conditioning repair service or something along those lines. Any thoughts on that, or any other suggestion you have for folks who are starting up? Because this is probably the number one or number two biggest challenge that most people face, is lack of startup capital. So any thoughts on that?
The biggest obstacle that I find people have in raising capital is underestimating the amount of time it will take. Typically, when I'm raising money, and I have spent too much of my life doing that, I have devoted 25 up to 50% of my time doing what I call dialing for dollars. And the single biggest reason I think that most people don't raise money is that they don't commit the time and they give up too soon. Additionally, many businesses are really started with money from family and friends, and that is not a bad thing. Obviously, you need to be deeply committed and passionate to what you're doing if you're going to take money from family and friends. But family and friends and angel investor networks, I mean, probably in almost every city across the United States, there are now these angel investment networks that are one of the places that will provide you with startup capital. I think you also need to make the business case for why your social or sustainable business has a competitive advantage over other businesses. There are still investors who think that sustainable, responsible businesses won't perform as well as other businesses. And you need to make that business case that not only will your sustainable business perform as well, but based on lots of research and lots of statistics that I'm sure Scott can share with you, you are likely to do better.
Great, and yeah, we'll definitely get to a lot of those factors a little bit later on here. Definitely this is all really, really incredibly valuable advice for you folks who are out there looking to start a business. I've heard this make the business case for green rather than the green case for your business many, many times. It's a mantra I always repeat to folks. Look, you may think that when you're starting a green business, money will fall from the sky, volunteers will help, people will line up and get behind you no matter what. But it's unfortunate that there have been a lot of green business startups over the years that really started on a wing and a prayer and not much more, and unfortunately probably set a precedent that that it's not a guarantee. And that's a good thing. The green business community has to mature just like every other business community out there. So we're learning, we're getting better, but as Jeffrey said, and this is one of the key takeaways from today, really, I totally agree, there has never been a better time to start a green business than today. And I'll give you two main reasons for that. First, the recession is still upon us, unemployment is still high, meaning that you can probably attract some ridiculously good talent to help you in a mission-driven company that has been either laid off or is considering career change, got laid off by a company they committed their lives to, and now feels sort of slighted and wants to no longer go back to work for just a big company, but really help startups where they have a little bit more control and a little bit more leeway with how they work. The other thing is that level of sustainability interest, both from the general public and from the business community, has never been higher. And so, as we reported a little bit earlier, big companies are looking to spend as much, if not more, this year on their environmental health and safety spending. And what that shows is that's going to provide somewhat of a trickle-down effect where big companies outsource some of their work to smaller companies as opposed to keep employees on their staff. And therefore, there's opportunities for folks to pick up business from time to time. We at greenbusinessowner.com want to express our sincere, heartfelt gratitude for you, the change makers of tomorrow's economy. You are the change that we want to see in the world, to quote Gandhi. You are the reason that we exist, and we are very grateful for your presence today and every day, and we look forward to continuing to serve you. We look forward to seeing you in our next online open house, first Wednesday of every month, free to the public, from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Every first Wednesday, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go to the front of our page, greenbusinessowner.com, to register for the next class. Thanks, and have a wonderful day.